James, in biotech and pharmaceutical construction projects, is there a key area perhaps where more of the innovation is happening? Is it more at the design stage, or is it more when works actually start on site or somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of innovation happening in design, I feel like, with creating design options, estimating. Construction is more manual, so I think it's a little bit more difficult to innovate there. But yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of movement and like consolidation in design phases with a lot of tools that help automate a lot of that process.
There's lots of different opinions on pilots. I was speaking to someone the other day, and
Yeah.
they said if a product is good and you have someone who has a problem and the product supposedly solves this problem, then why do you even need a pilot in the first place?
Yeah.
And
Have you ever bought a technology without doing a pilot? Like you saw that this immediately is going to solve your problem?
good question.
I don't think so. No, because like our integrated solution, I'm making it sound really simple and easy, but like there's a lot of pieces, right? It's complex
Mhm.
and there's a lot of work that goes into making it integrated, right? So I don't think we would ever just throw something in, right? We always want to test it alongside everything else that goes with it.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Bricks and Bytes podcast, where we dive into construction and AEC technology. Before we get started though, if you're a startup founder or operator responsible for innovation in your company, or you want a deeper, more insightful look into technology in AEC, you won't want to miss our newsletter. From deep dives into particular technologies such as AI, robotics, design, software, and so on. Hot takes from investors betting big in AEC technology, and advice on building tech companies, including the stories and takeaways of the most successful AEC technology founders. Head over to www.bricks-bytes.com and sign up today to get this exclusive material straight to your inbox. And now for the episode. In construction, precision matters. Every budget line, every schedule, every document. But too often, project data is scattered across tools and departments, creating risky silos. That's where ArcDesk comes in. ArcDesk is the all-in-one construction management platform designed to connect your entire project operation, from opportunity through to tender, all the way to handover. With real-time dashboards, cost control, scheduling, procurement, and document management in one place, ArcDesk gives you complete visibility and control. Trusted by contractors, subcontractors, and asset owners worldwide, ArcDesk has powered landmark projects from shopping centers to Europe's tallest buildings. If you're ready to reduce risk, protect your margins, and deliver projects with confidence, discover ArcDesk today. Visit arcdesk.com, that's ARCH desk.com, and see how leading firms are building smarter with ArcDesk.
All right, James, I just gave you a forewarning of a very tough question I'm about to ask you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What is your favorite item of clothing? No, I'm kidding. Favorite piece of tech in construction?
So my favorite piece of technology in construction has to be the digital twin right now. I think that has a lot of unexplored, unimagined opportunities and positives for not just construction and the built environment and how buildings operate, but for like a lot of use cases, right? Like what's the limit of digital twin and how far can it extend, right? So I think there's a lot of things with digital twin and that technology that aren't even explored, so we really don't even understand like the possibilities of them, right? To their fullest extent, right? We can dream, we can imagine right now what they could be like, but there's going to be a lot of like trial and error on what works and what doesn't. And I think that's a really exciting technology for a lot of things.
But as far as digital twin concept is concerned, do you find any valid use cases right now? Or are you predicting that in the future it will have like lots of scope and potential use cases?
Yeah,
I'm very curious because we don't hear actually, not that Owen asks this question every single time he opens up, but we don't hear many people being actually excited about digital twins. Not that they say they are not excited, but they don't mention digital twins.
Yeah, and I also see a lot of digital twin bashing actually on LinkedIn.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, definitely been a buzzword, right? But I think the AI cycle that we're in kind of took some pressure off digital twin, which is great. Gave it a break for a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely use cases today, especially in pharmaceutical and biotech, for being able to connect sensor data, right? And then you apply machine learning to the sensor data over time. And when it can predict downtime or issues or preventative maintenance, right? And that downtime can be prevented, that saves these companies a lot of money, right? And like that's just in this particular use case, right? Like preventing downtime by using predictive analytics based on the live streaming data from the digital twin. That's a use case that a lot of our clients like want to get to now, right? And it's a goal that we're all working towards. So yeah, that's an immediate use case. And then there's futuristic use cases, right? That just they become more autonomous, right? And things like that. So yeah, still definitely exciting.
Mm,
Mhm.
interesting.
Per-
What's
Perhaps
what?
it's still like worth.
Go on,
Go
go
on.
on. I was gonna say, what, James? Why do you think it's underutilized, digital twin?
So I think for the most part, like data is underutilized right now still. I think with the advent of like large language models and that sort of the AI cycle we're in right now, a lot more of importance is being placed on data and data quality. Not like it wasn't before, right? But now it's, there's an extra incentive to have like really rich quality data. Um, and IoT sensors and things like that, like those have progressed a lot. And I think that those are a couple of reasons why they're sort of undervalued right now. But I think that third reason is, again, just imagining the possibilities, connecting sensor data and like, what if everything's a sensor and then there's like data overload. So they're just a really complex topic. And at the same time, it also depends on what you're trying to do with the twin, right? Like they can become very complex to build, attaching all the sensors, training all the models, all the data that's getting collected, and then teaching it what to do when certain data points trigger, right? Like that's very complex, but it fits really well in today's like overall themes of technology and where we're going with machine learning and things like that, right? But yeah, I just think the complexity, data quality, right, and IoT devices within all the equipment and the scalability of it, right? It's all very difficult to do right now.
Mhm. But by applying these digital twins to what you do you mean more in the maintenance phase? There will be more use cases for digital twins, or during the construction?
I think both, right? First, like in maintenance and facilities maintenance, right? Operations of a facility. The use case there is very clear, right? But then even looking at construction, right? Being able to simulate the construction process, right? There's sort of a blending of simulation and the twin, right? Being able to predict what might happen, right? So I think of it as like a digital twin in construction would be, like what we do with simulating 4D, right? 4D scheduling and things like that, right? And looking at what could go wrong before it happens. But then you also mix in like the sensor data from equipment and maybe hard hats and people, right? And so then you have all this information on site that, again, maybe you can predict safety issues, right? Maybe you can predict, constructability concerns, right? There's a lot of use cases, again, when you're attaching live streaming data and then looking at how things are progressing in real time and having machines learn what happens when certain outcomes are reached, right? That's when, again, they can become a very powerful tool.
Mm, okay. All right. Let's rewind a little bit then. So, James, tell us, yeah, like your role at CRB. Maybe just what your role and then a little bit about CRB, who they are, what they do, what kind of projects.
Yeah. So a little bit about CRB is we are a pharmaceutical and biotech manufacturing, architecture, engineering, construction company. So we're an AEC in the pharmaceutical and biotech space. And we, again, design, engineer, and build pharmaceutical and biotech buildings for manufacturing. But there's a lot of food and beverage. Like we have a food and beverage sector as well that focuses on that area. Um, and And yeah, I think we've been doing this since the inception of the company. And, we have, a lot of success and a lot of specialty in this area. So, um, I feel like as a company, we're a little bit nimble as well, where we can, meet a lot of different use cases in that sector. And in a lot of cases, the pharmaceutical and biotech industry is being revolutionized right now, right? There's a lot of new technology with gene and cell therapy, right? Which is really exciting. And it's a great challenge for how we design and build those facilities that, quite frankly, if they've never really been built before, right? Because that process is constantly evolving, and how we produce those therapies, right, is different than how we've produced traditional therapy. But um, a little bit about my role as a project technology manager is I've been with CRB just about 6 years, 6.5 now. I started out in VDC, but then moved more into like more overall view of digital delivery. And then from there, being in digital delivery, we started taking an even larger view at overall project technology across the company and looking at the whole project tech stack. Um, and my role specifically is a lot of emerging technology and strategy and implementation and piloting R&D, so that really what we want to do is find the best solutions for our field teams, and so that we're solving pain points. And that's really how we like to innovate. We like to just solve the problems in our existing processes and move all that forward, continuously improving things.
Would you guys agree that with my guess that companies like CRP would have more technology for the construction teams that companies that produce housing, rather than a pharmaceutical, biotech, and food and beverage industry?
So I think that what we offer really is we have this end-to-end model where we start from very early in the design process, and then we can perform all the pre-construction and then manage a lot of the construction, right? And then we're starting to have this turnover portion, right, as well. We talked about with digital twin, and a lot of that feeds into that. So what we offer is this integrated solution from end to end. And I think, in theory, right, that could apply to other areas, right? Because there's a lot of advantages to having the end-to-end solution, like, speed to market, and things like that. So yeah, I think to answer your question, yeah, some of it could apply. And you wouldn't necessarily need a lot of the extra like specialties that go into pharmaceutical and biotech in residential, right? And housing. But yeah, I feel like the end-to-end workflow, the end-to-end solution, integrated solution, is something that could be valuable no matter what you build.
James, in biotech and pharmaceutical construction projects, where is there a key area perhaps where more of the innovation is happening? Like, is it more at the design stage, or is it more when works actually start on site, or somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of innovation happening in design, I feel like, with creating design options, estimating. Construction is more manual, so I think it's a little bit more difficult to innovate there. But yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of movement and like consolidation in design phases, with a lot of tools that help automate a lot of that process, right? And speed it up and produce more options and increase accuracy and increase like computational design and things like that, right? Whereas, construction, we're, really still learning how to, collect a lot of the data there and how to automate things and stringing them together. And, you have robotics, and that's, been moving very quickly as well. But, at the same time, the design process has been like digitizing for a long time, right? And the clicks and everything, right? And construction, the actual physical assembly of the building isn't clicking, right? It's like, it's still people that have to put things into place, right? And so that's why I think right now we're still seeing most of the movement in that space in design and pre-construction.
Interesting.
Have you guys tried and tested any technology within the design? recently?
Have we tried and tested something for design? Yeah, I think let me think about this. So we've been testing a little bit of like a lot of data exchange, AEC data model. We specialize, well, we have most of our tech stack in Autodesk. So we're, working with a lot of those data tools. That's stuff that we've been doing a lot of testing with lately. Data exchange, data model, data connector, right? A little less testing there. That's more solid footing. But outside of that, like another area is generative design for concept layouts and building massing and things like that. We've been kind of taking a look at that um, as a way to just more efficiently produce design options, be able to quantify them right quickly and trend the rest of the design off those baselines. So I think that's an area that we've been spending some time in.
Mm-hmm. I will ask a very maybe obvious questions, but maybe not. But let's see what you respond. So we said that most of your design stack is within Autodesk. Why is that? And what would it take for you guys to change into what the newcomer would have to provide for a company like CRB to consider going somewhere else?
Yeah, so most of our tech stack is in Autodesk and Microsoft, right? Between those two. They are some of the biggest companies in the industry, right? In the world that offer sort of those services that we need. So that's one reason. But I think another really important reason is we've developed a really good partnership with our team at Autodesk, right? I've developed a lot of relationships with product teams and throughout the company. And I think we like the direction of like where all the tools are going, right? We like the integration of BIM, right? And BIM data into construction, right? Into their platforms. And I think BIM data and BIM in general is just sort of still an underutilized aspect of the AEC, right? And a lot of their tools, because of Revit and Houseworks and a lot of the authoring platforms, right? They integrate with their project management platforms like ACC. So we like the consolidation of all the tools. And again, they've become a trusted partner of ours over the years, right? Since Revit, right? And using that as a primary tool with AutoCAD, Plant 3D. And again, we've added others as the relationship has progressed. But they really see our challenges as their challenges, right? And I think that's one of the most important things that when we're looking at new solutions, right? Like how invested are they going to be in our success? And will they change their platform and add functionality because we think we need certain functionality, right? And that's the part of the trusted partner that is really important to us in like technology vendors. And that's what I would say to other ones that are trying to like get our business, right? And have us use their tools. It's the partnership.
Do you as with your partnership with Autodesk, does that leave room to try other, perhaps more, I don't want to coin the term disruptive, but let's say a little bit more nimble softwares that exist within the market?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think like Autodesk is a large company, right? They're the number one provider of a lot of the software for the industry. But at the same time, like they're building things in such a responsible way where their roadmaps and there's so much for them to build, right? They're a little bit slower, right? They're not a startup and they're not nimble. And they can't, quickly just flip a switch on a piece of functionality that we asked for and then boom, it's right there, right? They take, I feel like, a more prescriptive approach to technology and innovation, right? It's a little bit slower. They're waiting to see, right? They feel like a little more of the Apple in that space, right? They're sort of watching what's going on out there and then there you go. There's their innovation or there's an acquisition, right? There's always room for point solutions, but personally, I'm more wary of that because I love the idea of tools that integrate with our stack, right? So that our teams don't have to go to other platforms and remember another login and click more things. And because, there's friction there and people don't want friction, right? So we're always conscious of, well, how well can it integrate with our current stack? And I think that's a really important part of if we were to bring on solutions from outside of Autodesk or Microsoft and outside of our main stack, right? Interoperability is number one.
What would be your advice to founders or sales teams pitching to you design solutions?
Our response to them pitching design solutions, is that what you meant?
What would be your advice to founders who are developing tech tools within design space?
Advice? Yeah, again, I think it goes back to what I was just talking about, right? Like data interoperability is very important, right? We want to be able to have access to data. I'm sure that's, a tired answer at this point for you guys on here, but
I mean, it's a problem, right? So it's a demand. There's demand there.
Yeah, and again, when we're talking about structured data, right, it's difficult to kind of turn that over, and APIs are getting easier to use, right, so that people who don't know how to code can access data, right? But being able to do that in a scalable way is really important, but also still a barrier, right? It's still a little bit difficult to do that in a simple and scalable way, right? So I think access to data is really important. But, second to that is ease of use, right? Maybe it's first, maybe they're not in order, right? Ease of use for the user is really important, because if the tool's not easy to use and it doesn't integrate well with their current workflow, and right, so there's a level of disruption there that when you're trying to address things like change management so that people adopt tools and feel like they own them like they're their own solution, right? I think the ease of use and does it solve a problem is a really important aspect to this as well. Right? Because again, people are going to use tools that have lower barrier of entry and less friction. And I think ease of use is really a really important part of that. So
click, design, build, operate, sell.
Yeah, and that's why I think automation is so sought after right now, because there's just so much opportunity for things that have been digital for a long time to just start again stringing those actions together. I'm a fan of human in the loop, right? When it comes to automation, just constantly checking in on things, but there's a lot of time saving there too.
James, so how do you individually, if you've got quite a vast organization with varying operations from design all the way through to the construction, how do you, in your role, implement or even like ideate, get the feedback from teams? Like, how do you sort of balance the approach between the architecture department, the construction department, I think you mentioned some other ones as well, engineering?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. And I think what's special about CRB is that we offer that integrated solution I was talking about, right? So we don't necessarily want to look at things as through just the design, pre-construction, right, and construction lens, right? We like to look at it as all one, right? Data thread, and things like that. And I think we balance it by understanding that, the types of projects that we build aren't just design only, right? We end up building these things, right? Constructing them, they end up getting built. So I think a lot of the times we're thinking of the end in mind first, right? And that's how I personally try and balance it, because there is a tendency to just cater to design, right? Because it's easier, right? It's more digital. It's been more digital, right? We were just talking about that automation. So it's easier to do that. But what's hard to do is to make sure that the solutions that benefit design also connect and better benefit construction as well. So we're always keeping in mind the end, right? Turnover, constructability, all those things, so that, the most of the time spent on a project is in construction, right? It takes a long time to actually assemble a facility, and there's a lot of time and money spent there, right? So if we can improve that at, a certain percentage, right, that's more valuable than, improving things on the design side. And I think that's the lens that we look at it through, right? Integrated solution with the end in mind, right? And I think that's served us really well. And we continue to offer solutions and innovate in that area. And it's all just kind of plussing the crown jewel of that integrated solution, integrated delivery that we offer.
What's your vetting process when looking at new vendors that provide technology?
Yeah, so like we have a number of metrics that we've developed. I don't think they're like too outlandish, right? I don't think like we're the only ones using these, but we have an approach that looks at the metrics. We like to demo the tools, obviously, and meet the teams that offer them, meet product managers, and really look at not just the company maturity, but product maturity as well. And we look at it from like a number of different areas. But yeah, we like to, again, get to know them as people, get to know the company, get to know the solution. And then we really just use our metrics to analyze that the company and the solutions to see how well it matches up with pain points or problems that we're trying to solve internally, right? And we like to look at a range of vendors as well. So that way we can sort of rank them and compare them side by side, right? Look at kind of pluses and minuses across the board based on the metrics. But I think one of my favorite metrics is the people, process, and technology that we've developed. So we like to look at it from the people standpoint, right? How will it impact them? As we're just looking at the solution for the first time, we're thinking about the impact to our people. Then we're thinking about the impact to our process, and we're thinking about the impact to other technology that we use for that process, right? And how it integrates with other things that, might coincide with it. So we're really looking at metrics within those three categories for vetting vendors and new technology and new solutions.
Could you be a bit more specific about these? About these metrics? Like, are these like a formulas, like mathematical formulas that you summarize some points, or it's less tangible and more touchy feely?
It's a little bit in between, right? So, like for instance, like if we're looking at impact of process, right? We need to know if this is like a brand new process, right? Have we ever done something like this before? Where does this fit, right? And if it isn't brand new and it replaces something, well, what does it replace, right? How many steps does it replace? Does it shorten timelines, right? Does it save us time? Does it increase complexity of the process? Does it unlock other benefits downstream, right? So there's a number of different like variables, even just looking at impacts to existing processes, right? Or new processes that we need to understand, before we get too far with a certain solution. We're just trying to make sure that all the different areas of that technology will benefit us, right? And we won't hit like unknown or hidden roadblocks, right? That end up making a process worse, because that's the last thing we want to do is make things harder for our people.
Yeah. And speaking of product maturity, as you mentioned, it is one of the key points as well. What do you mean by product maturity? Or perhaps could you give some I don't know, some more info on like what's product would you consider, or what type of product would you not consider, like based on the maturity metric that you use?
Yeah, I think so the artificial intelligence space and like generative design is pretty ripe with this right now. But one example that I would offer is that, if like the company can be around a long time, right? But if the tool hasn't existed for a long time, right? There could be bugs in there, right? That haven't been encountered before, right? Like we think that we put software and technology to like a pretty tough test, right? The buildings we design and build, they're complex, right? There's a lot that goes into them, and we really stress test a lot of these tools, and we ask a lot of them, and they have to perform, really well, or else, people have people going back, right? So, like for instance, if a tool is out there and let's just say it can do something for one discipline, right? But it can't do it for the other disciplines yet, right? But that's on the roadmap, and right? If if that's the case, right, well, then I think we look at that as a less mature product because like on their roadmap is to expand to all these disciplines or, maybe capturing objects, right? We can look at scan to BIM maybe as a good example. Um, if they can only capture like 50 items out of 1,000, right? Well, that's kind of an easy way to measure maturity, right? Um, so we look at it like that in terms of maturity. How much can it do for us now? Can it do everything? Can it just do certain things? Is it limited in terms of its scale, right? And how many disciplines it can reach or how many objects? Depends on what we're talking about, right? But um, yeah, hopefully that makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah, I suppose it begs a question like, if a tool exists and like you have a specific problem, but a tool exists and it only solves a small part of the problem, but is like really good. Otherwise, that the company's great, you like them, blah blah blah, et cetera, et cetera. Would you pick a tool that can tackle the whole problem, or are you more open to like picking things that might only bite off a little bit of the problem but do it exceptionally well?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it comes down to how valuable that specific part of the problem is, right? And I think we're willing to invest in a solution where we see the roadmap is going in a direction that expands to more of the problem, right? More parts of the problem. So that's why in that last, portion, I mentioned roadmap, right? Roadmap's important to see where things are going. And we know that sometimes they don't come to fruition, but when we see things in development and we sort of get a sense that we know that they're coming, we are more willing to invest in things like that. Now, if the roadmap wasn't there and they weren't looking to expand and solve other things, right? Again, it just goes back to the ROI of that specific problem that it's solving, right? And if we were to bring on a point solution that really just solved that one thing, again, it's just about ROI. It's just about value. And I think that's what it comes down to.
Fair enough.
Have you got any thoughts on the ways that startups and technology providers charge
Like in terms of cost and pricing.
in terms of cost and pricing? Yes.
So I guess what I'd say here is that there's a lot of different like pricing models I think that we've been seeing. A lot of times companies want us to agree to a flat rate for a pilot project. But our timelines are a little bit maybe shorter than they want. I think the advice or like what I would say about it is that, I don't know if we want to, like if we're R&Ding something and just trying to see if it's a good fit for our process, right? And our people, a year is probably like paying for a solution for a year to see if, or 6 months, like I think a lot of those timelines might be too long, right? Our pilot projects want to be a little bit shorter than that. And the trial period wants to be a little bit shorter, like shorter than that. So I think that's something that I've noticed recently is just trying to resist getting into something long term when we're just trying to test if it works for us, right? I think there needs to be like a little bit lower of a bar of entry for like maybe just trying it for a couple weeks, right? And a lot of vendors that we work with, like they offer free trials, right? And I think seeing more of that would be good, but at the same time, like I also feel a little bit guilty trying something for free for like a month, right? Like that's so there's like an in between there. Like we don't want to pay for multiple years, or even a year is a lot when we're just trying to see if it's a good fit. But at the same time, like we don't want to just be free because we want them to like grow and add new features and hire more people, right? And keep plussing their products. So we understand our part in that as well. But yeah, I think there's an in between, right? Where it's like, here's the cost to R&D for a couple weeks or a couple months, right? Not 6 months, a year and plus. That's what I'd say.
Hey listeners, I want to take a quick break to remind you about the Bricks Bytes newsletter. If you're interested in learning about the technology shaping the future of construction, you won't want to miss the valuable insights we share each week. To get this exclusive content delivered straight to your inbox, head over to www.bricks-bytes.com unsolved.com and sign up today. Link is in the show notes. Back to the show.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's lots of different opinions on pilots. I was speaking to someone the other day, and they said if a product is good and you have someone who has a problem, and the product supposedly solves this problem, then why do you even need a pilot in the first place?
Yeah.
And I could see the for and against,
Yeah.
but I also get the logic there, and I also appreciate that construction is complicated, so it's not just so easy to like roll out a new task management software, for example, which might only
Yeah.
deal with one thing.
Have you ever bought a technology without doing a pilot? Like you saw that this immediately is going to solve your problem?
Good question.
I don't think so. No, because like our integrated solution, like I'm making it sound really simple and easy, but like there's a lot of pieces, right? It's complex. And there's a lot of work that goes into making it integrated, right? So I don't think we would ever just throw something in, right? We always want to test it alongside everything else that goes with it, right? That's part of the integrated solution that we offer. I think it's part of our responsibility for offering an integrated solution like that is to make sure that anything that you add to it or anything that you do with the
It
integrated
is
solution,
integrated.
yeah, it maintains its integrity at a minimum, right? So yeah, I think we are always testing, right? We're always curious to see like, and you never know, right? Like you might think one thing, right? And it's a home run and you could be right. But at the same time, you'll never know if, maybe it fits in somewhere else as well, right? Without just like testing it. But yeah, testing first, always good.
Which area do you see any shortages in terms of new software types within construction? And I think speaking with you earlier, you've mentioned that you guys develop some software internally. Maybe you can connect these two.
Yeah, I think I don't know why, but one of the first areas that popped up was 4D. Like we have all of the major players in 4D, right? That offer a lot of those solutions. But when we talked about digital twin earlier, and I was like, yeah, the construction twin feels like that. It feels like wiring in a lot of data points and sensor data into like a 4D platform that can then like give you different options, right? And there's a few out there, but I think they've been around for a long time. And I think that's an area that I'm surprised we're not seeing more, especially with machine learning and large language models and being able to natural language query, right? Yeah, I think that's an area that again just came to mind that I'd like to see more innovation in, right? Because I think there's a lot of opportunity with saying like, hey, or the system goes, hey, we're noticing some slowdowns here, some problems, right? Whatever it might be. Here are some ways that you can get back on track. And then it shows you, right? It changes the construction sequencing and then it maybe updates the model, makes changes to the design. I don't know, right? But like there's a lot of opportunity there. Not only to do that in construction, but before it, right? And like almost looking at construction sequencing as you're designing and as you're moving things in the model. And almost like in real time, it's reacting to the way the building is being designed and it's giving you a roadmap for how it should be built. Right. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. And I don't know of a lot of solutions that do what I just described, but it would be really cool if there were.
James, what is like one of the extreme pain points that you're facing right now? Or maybe even that you're hearing in the wider construction industry that you maybe not actively looking for a solution for, but just thinking about. Maybe this ties in a little bit to the digital twins, but maybe that is not such a pain as something else that you're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot right now, right? But if I had to pick a couple, here we go. So the first one would be information management. Like we rolled out ACC recently, like last couple of years. And to do that, we had to disrupt some of our tech stack and folder structure and right. So I think a lot of project teams, like when they get into a project, they see it as their own, right? So they make it their own space. They change folders. And so when you're going from project to project, right? Even though we're using a template and every project is using the same template, there's a wide range of folder structures and how things are done and how things are stored, right? Where information lives. And I think one of the biggest pain points we're facing is, where does this file get saved? Where do I find it? Right? How do I find it? And that's a place right now where like artificial intelligence and machine learning, large language models, right? They're doing a really good job of being able to find information very quickly and reducing that time, so that I think eventually like the document control, document management portions of a project, they just go away. And the contents of a file are read, and then the system knows exactly where it needs to go. And same thing with the retrieval, right? It's kind of a beautiful system. So that's a pain point that's really top of mind right now. But then another one that we're spending a lot of time on is turnover, right? Closeout, turnover, handing over BIM models, right? Turning over, turnover packages and documents, right? Like all of that stuff that goes into the building, goes into construction, goes into design, needs to get organized, right? Structured, and make sure that it fits into the CMMS, right? And legacy systems of our clients. And it's not something that, you could just flip a switch and like, oh, everything's organized and there you go. Nice packaged turnover. And so I think there's a lot of time that goes into at the end of a project, and it really just gets dumped at the end, right? And
Yeah.
that's another pain point that we really are trying to address. And part of our integrated solution is streamlining that so that turnover is easy and that they get everything that they want and more, right?
Could you not just dump it into a folder and put a large language model on it? Because I'm guessing even the users of, okay, I'm really oversimplifying here, so excuse me,
Yeah.
but like the users of the buildings, they just want to know like something goes wrong. They should just be able to ask, give it a prompt like, oh, boiler stopped working. What should I do? And it'll say, this area contains this boiler, and this is the model, and this is the troubleshooting, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Rather than
Well,
troll through like
That's
folders
what
and
he's
folders.
yeah.
that's what he's looking for.
Yeah. So we're trying to really, the way we thought about it is, well, let's not just dump it all at the end, right? Let's think of closeout as we are designing, right? As we're starting to build, right? So if you organize it in a way from the beginning, right, then you don't have to at the end go back and be like, all right, now structure everything the way we need it. So, and that goes with the data, right? In BIM. It also works with the turnover documentation. So what we found is if we store things the right way as we go, well, then there's nothing to do at the end other than test and make sure it works. And if it doesn't, well, maybe solve a couple problems there. But so the solution, Owen, that you just mentioned, right? Like we don't want to deploy that at the end. We want that document control agent all the way throughout the life cycle of the project so that it's just storing things where it needs to go constantly. And it doesn't have to do all that hard work at the end.
Mm-hmm.
How much is your sorry, mine? How much of your process is when you're looking for these problems? How much of it is you putting the issue out to the market and seeing what the responses are, or versus you seeing something, I don't know, at an event, social media, photograph, whatever it might be,
LinkedIn.
and saying, "Oh, we need that solution." Like inbound
What was
versus
the-
outbound.
What was the first part again?
The first part was how much of it is you like I guess
Searching
signaling
for
to
it?
the market, yeah, searching for it yourself, saying,
Yep.
oh, like that problem that you have with the turnover, say, how much of
Yeah.
that would be like, okay, searching Google, whatever it might be that you use, or just putting out saying we're looking for a solution X to your network, whatever it might be, versus these people coming to you at the right time?
Yeah, most of it is research, right? Most of it is found, through like, again, there's a lot of ways to do this, right? Like I like to pride myself in my LinkedIn network, and I like to think that I'm connected to a lot of different things, and that feed is really valuable. My notifications are great, right? But at the same time, Google search and, even Copilot, what we use internally. Personally, I use Gemini. So I think a lot of it is research. Very rarely when we have a problem, does the solution just kind of like walk through the door in an email.
Mhm.
And that'd be great. But at the same time, like I enjoy the research of it, right? Like I enjoy being able to like solve that part of the problem and say, looking for solutions that then we get to demo and R&D and compare to each other, right? Like I think that's an exciting part for me. It's kind of, it's almost like the beginning of the project where the project is solving the problem finding the solution or finding any potential solutions that might meet that pain point, right? Solve that pain point is a really fun part for me. So yeah, a lot of it's just done through research. So yeah, but again, that there isn't like there's a lot of marketing emails, right? That go like that come through, right? And I guess if I'm being honest, I think one of the most recent solutions that we're going to be taking a look at, they reached out to me first, right? And, but again, that was on LinkedIn, right? So I think it's really important to have like a large network on LinkedIn and have a presence, because you never know like what's going to come through, at what time, right? And I think, you know, it's really important to kind of use all those avenues.
What's your advice for people doing cold outreach towards you?
My advice is,
Please don't.
no, honestly, like this is the part of it that I enjoy, right? Like I like finding new ideas, right? I like finding new solutions and being able to implement one because it meets all of our criteria and our people want to use it. Like that's a really exciting thing. You know, some of the stuff we build like internally solves those problems, right? But it's also really cool to find technology out there that not only solves a problem that we're looking to solve, but may solve other problems, right? And you start gaining efficiencies because it solves more than just the problem you were looking for, right? And you'll never know unless you test what's out there. But yeah, like I think my message is just like keep going. Like I'm one that doesn't mind the outreach, right? I like making those connections, right? I like building relationships. We like building partnerships with our vendors. So my advice is just continue building the relationship so that when we ask for new features or different like changes to the platform, whatever it might be, don't get mad at us. And it's more of like that partnership, right? Like that's what I really enjoy. I really enjoy being able to work with them. So.
During our initial chat, I think you mentioned that for information management, you chose trunk tools. What made you do that? And yeah, tell us a little bit about like what was the reason for choosing them?
So since that time, there have been like other tools that have come onto the market, right? That have presented a similar solution, right, to information management. So like, I'll be honest with you, we're still going through those, right? We haven't landed on one yet. We haven't implemented one. We still have some like infrastructure moves that we would want to make before we implemented something at that scale as well, right? But yeah, right now we're just like in the R&D and pilot phase with that. So like Trunk is a great solution. I think it offers it solves pain points, right? But at the same time, it's what we talked about earlier is we're not just looking for one company that meets a solution and then we're done. We're still looking for others that do those things, right? So that we can see what else they might offer, right? And do our comparison and go through our process and look at our metrics and say, yeah, this is the right solution. And we can be confident in that because we looked at what was out there, right? And we looked at the other solutions, and this is why this one might have been better. This is why we chose this one, right? So,
I'm curious, what are the like cons within this space, information management? Since you've been in this piloting time, like what are the things that you don't like within those startups?
Yeah, why is it not just straightforward as well?
Yeah,
like straightforward, like we just find one and that's it.
Yeah, that's the one we want.
Yeah,
to.
like you find the information.
Here is a check.
Yeah. Well, again, there's a lot of factors, right? Like for our integrated solution, it's not that simple, right? There's a lot of tools right now. Like our tech stack is like a lot of our project files, they're saved in a lot of different locations. We want to move them more to the cloud and less on-prem, right? But like, we're not there yet. So like, there's a lot of factors in that one particular pain point that those tools have to work with, right? So yeah, again, it's just when we're talking about the integrated solution, we need to make sure that we're choosing the right one and that there's value in solving that problem if they don't solve kind of the whole range of the problem. because one of the things that I really enjoy about, looking at new solutions and working with vendors is all the other things that they could offer as well, right? And if you can get that plus the problem you're trying to solve for a similar ROI, right? Like that's or similar price, right? Then your ROI gets driven up. So, um, plus again, like when you're piloting new solutions, you don't know what you don't know, right? So there could be hidden opportunities that you won't know until you've explored them, right? More and tested them in that way. So, um, it's not that simple because we don't want it to be. We want to continue to find new things, right, about those solutions and those vendors so that they continue to add value or add more value than we even thought they were when we were looking at them just for that solution. That makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. Oh, and I suggest the name of this episode: integration, integration, integration. Seems like it's the key. It
Okay.
seems like it's the key with CRB. Okay.
Don't quit the day job, man.
Nice.
James, what was there like a technology solution that that was not a particular failure necessarily directly related to CRB, but just a general technology you think that you tested that was just not good, and you thought, this is never going to work in construction?
Give us the names.
Name and shame.
Yeah, I don't really want to give the name, but
No, you're good.
because like I think with our feedback, right, they could change and they could address those pain points that they created, right, in our process when we were trying their tools, right? But yeah, there was one recently over the last couple of years that we thought we were getting one thing and we got something totally different, and then we had to end up doing a ton of work on our end to, here we go, integrate the data and get it to work with our reporting. So yeah, I think that's an example where it was a space where there wasn't a ton of competition. There weren't a ton of options. So there were a few. We were just at the beginning stages of the advent of LLMs, right, and that. And so we thought we were getting one thing, and it turns out it wasn't quite there yet, right? So that's why we talked earlier about maturity, and we really like to, make sure the solution's mature and that we're testing it, right, so that doesn't happen. So even again, everything that we've talked about with like testing and maturity and like all that stuff, it happened, right? We didn't get what we thought we were going to get, and that's why that was just a pilot. But it was a longer pilot. But yeah, I mean, even at that, right, there were relationships formed, right? And I think we'd always be open to seeing like how they've addressed and the pain points that we raised and where they are in their roadmap. And again, just kind of go back to the beginning, right? Where are they at? What's the maturity? And have they changed? Have they progressed? Have they solved those things? Because if they did, then, we might be open again, right? But yeah, that was an experience that we had recently that didn't go so great and didn't do enough testing, didn't do enough analysis, right? And just kind of jumped in. So
any thoughts on technology providers that are backed by venture or like investment? Is it a factor at all when you consider them?
I mean, that's a really good point. But like right now, no, I don't think we don't look at the backing of the company. I think it might show up a little bit in the company maturity, right? If they are startup, they haven't been around that long, they're right, and they're backed by venture or whatever. But no, I don't think it would be something that would disqualify a solution if it was good enough. You know what I mean? Because I don't think I don't think it would be. There's obviously risk in everything, right? But it's not something that particularly we're concerned about, I guess, right now.
Okay. I was going to ask about how important you think that like a founder of a solution or a founder of a vendor has a construction experience with a construction. What's the right way around? Construction background? Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Martin.
Yeah, I mean, I think we like solutions that are designed for construction, right? And they're built for it, right? A lot of for instance, the AI tools right now, it's a differentiator when they can say that like they're trained on construction data and they know, you know, details about submittals and RFIs, and they know what those things are, right? Because they've been trained that way, trained on that data. Um, but at the same time, as I say that, you know, I'm someone who likes to find solutions that come from under other industries and see how they fit here,
Mm.
right? Because they don't, there's also value in people not thinking the way we think, right? And getting that outside perspective and opinion and difference in approach. We don't know what we don't know, right? It's that thing where you have to stay open. You have to stay um, open to new ideas and new things because you don't really know what else is out there. You don't know how it's going to impact the integrated solution.
Yeah. James, and what about external validation? Like, if you find something that's good for you, perhaps, but is not, I don't want to say reputation, but other people maybe haven't had a great experience with, would you still consider it and use it, or is that a bit of a red flag for you?
Yeah, another good question. I think there's almost like a contrarian in me personally that's like, well, it didn't work for them. Well, maybe it'll work for us, right? Like, how can we get it to work for us? Um,
Fair play.
so no, like I don't think so. Like just because it didn't work for someone else, well, that's not us, right? That's not, or maybe that's not me, right? That's maybe we can offer something different and get it to work because we are different, right? So no, I don't think that that would turn us off, right? It wouldn't deter us, right, from at least trying it, right? Because it never hurts to try, as long as it's not a 3-year trial. Um,
Hmm.
but but yeah, no,
Right.
I don't think that discourages us. It might pique our interest, right?
Hmm.
What's your way of gathering feedback from the field and from the design teams on the solution?
Yeah, this is an area that I think we could improve a lot, right? Because get ready, I'm fully remote, right? I don't really go to job sites. When I was in VDC here in Boston, I was going to job sites every week. Um, so what I think needs to happen, and when we are successful, we are on site communicating, building relationships with our teams, right? Our field teams, and understanding and seeing up close, right? Like the day to day and understanding what they're going through. I think that's what we need to do more of, right? And because I've been more remote and our team is growing, right? There's a lot of opportunity for us to do more of that, to be more on site, to be more hands on, to build the relationships so that we can understand the struggle and understand the pain points and problems that they're running into. Um, and in order to collect that, right, I feel like it's not a video call, right, with the project team.
Mhm.
There's a lot of different ways to collect pain points and problems and lessons learned and all those things. And we're developing systems now, like new systems, so that we can move away from our old ways of doing that. But um, I think anyone in the company should be able to send us, right, or submit problems and pain points and struggles that they're running into on a project, as well as lessons learned. And I don't think that it should just be like reported to leadership, right? There's like all these ways that we need to meet our people where they are so that they can tell us what's working and what's not, right? And I think that's where we're looking to improve the most is how we collect that information and how easy it is for them to submit it to us, right? Um, and again, just all the different ways that they could potentially send us information and we can collect those pain points. That's what we want to do, plus the on-site presence, right? I think it's kind of both.
Mm.
Mm,
Okay.
My closing one would be which technology does CRB get the most ROI from within what we talked about?
Yeah, I think the Autodesk Construction Cloud is the one that we get the most ROI from, right? We were, I believe, an earlier adopter of right, early adopter of that solution. And they've continued to add a number of tools and modules and data, right, that we can get from it. But yeah, I think that tool has the highest ROI because, you know, it offers so many things, right? And you can, you can do so much with those tools, and they continue to add new functionality and new tools. And I think that's the part that continues to expand the ROI is like every time they add new things and we can implement them and they improve our workflows, right? Like that's the thing that continues to increase the ROI, because I don't think like the cost of what we pay for a lot of that changes too frequently. So that's another thing, right? Like within those terms, um, when they're adding new tools and adding new features, and a lot of times adding features that we've asked for, right, and worked with them on, beta testing, like all of that, being able to use tools in beta, right, that aren't quite out there yet, but they're solving problems, but they're in beta, right? Again, there's a lot of value in that for us. So, not to mention the partnership. So yeah, I think it's ACC. I think it's that platform and what it offers for our integrated solution.
Fair enough. Interesting answer. Okay, James. Last question for the show. Do you have any initiatives right now? Are you looking for something particular? Anything you want to plug? Are you hiring for an assistant? Whatever it might be.
So like right now, I think we're hiring, I think I can talk about this. Like we're hiring for content, like BIM content management. One of our initiatives is going to be reinvesting in our BIM content and the data intelligence aspects of BIM. Similar to what we talked about with turnover earlier, how we don't just want to pile it all up at the end. We want to enrich our BIM content so that the data within all of those components, are even more valuable downstream, and less work has to be done for turnover, for digital twin, industrialized construction, right? A lot of that starts with the data in BIM. And so that's a role that we're looking to fill, right? We're trying to hire for that role. And we want someone who's forward thinking and thinks of the content as data and intelligence that serves a lot of purposes downstream. So that's one initiative that I'm really excited about. It's been a long time coming here. Because again, it's a lot of data to manage, and it's a lot of content and a lot of components and pieces that go into the model. So yeah, that's the one I'd plug. But at the same time, like our team is continuing to grow, right? Innovation isn't going to stop, and we're looking to, be able to, like we talked about earlier, reach out and be on site for projects across like our whole portfolio. We're in every region in the United States, we're in Europe and Canada, right, in Puerto Rico. And so again, it's just being able to scale our team to meet the project teams where they are, right, and being able to do that. So yeah, I think product development, like sometimes we develop our own solutions, and that's also an area that we're looking to grow so that we can, if a vendor doesn't come through with a solution, well, we can kind of build something on our own, right? And that's always an option for us as well. So yeah, that's an area that, those are initiatives, those are areas that we're looking to grow and invest more in. So
awesome.
And it would be great if I had a project manager too. So if I had someone that could help me lead the initiatives, right? Lead implementation and things like that. That's, something that we had in the past with ACC, right? We had a fantastic project manager for that implementation. And since then we haven't, had a lot of project management, and it's been me and a couple of others just trying to like pull things together on our own with the implementation and rollout. But that's another area for me that would help a lot, right? Project management. So
cool. Awesome. All right, James, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate the time, and it was great chatting with you.
And you.
Thank you.